What is the state of physical media in Italy? Well, I don't fucking know. I don't speak Italian. Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of The Physical Cut. My name is Carlos, and today I am going to be talking to you about my recent trips to Rome and Madrid last month of May. When I planned the trip to Rome and Madrid, I was hoping to come back with a few hours of footage, maybe try to upload a YouTube video for you guys, but instead I came home with something much better. I came back with one friend less and a carry-on full of movies and memories and a completely different perspective on collecting physical media abroad. This is not going to be so much of a travel guide. This is going to be more of a comparison of Rome and Madrid, not as tourists, but as movie fans. Originally, when I try to plan a trip to a new city, whether it's a city that I've been to before or not, I'm very familiar with Madrid. Rome, this is my second time. My first time, I was able to plan out some of the movie stores that I wanted to visit. At least in Rome, the two that I kept visiting over and over the last trip was Hollywood. It's a small independent store. It's completely packed wall to wall with DVDs, Blu-rays. They're not big on 4K, at least in that one. They have perhaps 5 to 6 titles. At least this time around, I did see that they had a wall behind the cash register that had a few titles that were in 4K. The one that I keep seeing over and over is Perfect Days, which great movie. I don't think I need another edition of it for now. However, in Madrid, I know there's tons more of physical media stores. Like at least in Madrid, I know of two Siggies. There's Fnac that finally reopened this year. There's also a few other bookstores that tend to have DVDs or Blu-rays as well. I found a Sex, CEX, in Madrid, pretty big. It had a great selection of physical media as well. If you follow me on Instagram at the Physical Cut or my personal Carlos Ruben 2.0, you're going to be seeing those pictures of those set stores. I do tend to research some of these stores beforehand just in case it's one that just holds a few titles that is not a massive catalog of movies available. I don't have to waste my time going. If I know it's a more, smaller selection, I tend to leave it for last, but I try to focus more on bigger stores. I do tend to research these stores beforehand just to see if they're worth adding to my itinerary. Some of them don't really hold a large collection of physical media, so they're more of an afterthought or if passing by, maybe go in and check it out. Usually, what I do expect to find is more local titles, films that haven't made it to the US. I don't expect to find boutique labels. Honestly, I don't think I've seen a Criterion in Madrid nor Rome. Usually, my expectations when visiting a different country when it comes to physical media are not necessarily high. I do tend to look for something different, even if it's a special edition or different cover from something that I already own, or like I said, something that is more local. That's usually where my focus is. But before I even bought my first Blu-ray during this trip, I wanted to see what going to the movies in a different country actually felt like. My trip started in Rome, the city of Roman holiday, the city of Fellini, the city of Argento, the city of Giallo, and some crappy horror films that we know and love. But given that I'm very familiar with movie theaters in Madrid, I wanted to go through the experience of going to a movie theater in Rome. Now, there is a small movie theater close to where I was staying, super adorable movie theater. A lot of the films that came out of Cannes Film Festival made their way there pretty fast. As a matter of fact, the reason I went is because they were playing the new Pedro Almodovar film, Bitter Christmas. Not a great film, to be honest, but it was a great movie theater experience. The the crowd, the very little crowd that was sharing the theater with me was very, very invested in the movie. So I visited the Farnese movie theater, which is located in Campo de Fiore, in Rome. It's a very art house cinema. It actually does call itself cinema art house. They actually do sell films there too. They actually hold a pretty big selection of physical media within the theater. It's a little hard to purchase films because they don't know, at least the guy in the front desk didn't know the prices for the titles. So every time I wanted to know the price of one of the movies, he needed to go back, check with the other guy, kind of gave me more of an estimated price. I was able to pick up at least an edition of Hairspray, the musical, on DVD just to replace mine that has disc rot. There was a lot more titles there that I did want to purchase, but it was a little troublesome trying to get the guy to figure out the pricing. So I kind of gave up on that. And then in the back section where they had the concession stand, they actually had even more titles. I was trying to take a peek from a distance because I didn't know if I was allowed to go behind the counter. I don't believe so, but I did want to ask the guy also for a few titles, see the pricing. I was able to catch the Bitter Christmas film. I posted a picture of the screening room on Reddit, and a lot of Redditors, I believe they're called, were criticizing the size of the screen. Clearly, these people have never left AMC or any major theater chain here in the US, but not just outside of the US, but also in Brooklyn, you will find theater screen sizes this big. Now, obviously, in the picture, it does look smaller, but in real life, the object is larger than it appears. It's actually a pretty wide screen, but it did get a lot of criticisms for being too small. I totally understand. If you want to see a film, you want to see a film in the biggest screen possible. However, these are independent cinemas. This is not a film that needs to be seen on IMAX. I enjoyed it. The sound was good, and it's not the first time that I go see a film in a small screen cinema. The Garden Cinema in London is a beautiful theater. Is very elegant. It has a beautiful lounge, but then when you go into the screening room, the the screen is not that big. I think it's about maybe 10 feet, maybe at most 12. So it's not a large screening room. However, the experience of going to see a film that I like in that theater while I'm on vacation is part of creating memories. It's not necessarily to go criticize the screen. I saw Weapons in one of the biggest IMAX screens in UK. I hated the experience, not because the screen was big, but because I didn't really love the movie. So it's not about the screen size. It's not about the size, really. Sometimes, it's how you use it. The ticket pricing is obviously you have to compare how much we make over here in the US compared to some of these other countries. You got to take in consideration the pricing versus what people actually do get paid. And the price, I believe it was about €8, which converts easily to about 10 US dollars. Not bad. Again, not bad for a film that literally came out the week I arrived. And it's a film that still hasn't made its way to the US. One thing I did notice was when I was trying to check out the movies at the concession stand, the DVDs and Blu-rays they had behind the concession stand, was that there was no popcorn. There was I believe they were just selling water, some wine, and some bagged snacks. I didn't even care enough to order anything. I was just there for the movie, really. So last time I went to Rome, I saw the movie theater. I was staying right down the street from it. but I didn't get to visit the movie theater. This time I was able to take a look inside, and they do host a lot of events that for cinema lovers, it'd be a great movie theater to live next to be honest. I can only probably compare it to Nighthawk here in Brooklyn, but other than that, it's a very small, very independent, it's extremely clean. It's a great cinema. It is lovely. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, I did post some of the pictures of the movie theater there. If you're in that movie theater, is because you're going to see a film that is not anywhere else. So they're very respectful. At least the audience that was in my screening was a little older. They were very invested in the film. Sadly, the film was not a film that you should be that highly invested in because it was not Almodovar's best, but that's a topic for a whole different conversation. I did also notice that the trailers, not just in Rome, but also in Madrid, they're very local. So a lot of the trailers that you get at the beginning, they tend to be very specific to the area. They're very, very local. Some of them focus either on businesses around the area. And I don't think I saw more than three trailers for films. The overall experience was pretty good. I wish I could have purchased more physical media there because their selection was pretty good. I loved how clean it was. I love how invested in the community. I don't know if they necessarily have an organization. I was trying to read a little bit into that, but translating some of the stuff in Italian, it was taking me a little bit of time, and my film was about to start. And then on the way out, I already had some plans for dinner, so I really couldn't stop and explore the theater more. They do have, and I believe this is what it was, a small conference room, and they have like some sort of movie club, which I was trying to see if there was something going on during the week that I was there. But sadly, I wasn't able to get that far eh, into reading. There was actually something funny that did happen during the movie, and I almost forgot. And it's that when the trailers started, when they were playing out the local trailers, I just thought that there was no sound because they're local, commercials. But I guess the people that go there constantly already know that there's supposed to be sound. So people were just talking amongst each other, and I was able to catch some words here and there. And I was like, oh, they're complaining about the sound. So that means there's supposed to be sound with this commercial. And people were getting a little bit desperate at that point because then the trailers for movies started. That's when I noticed, oh, yeah, there's no sound. Keep in mind, the theater just recently opened. This was the first showing of the day. And somebody got up and called one of the workers, and he came in, he walked through the backside, he fixed the audio, came back out. Then people were complaining because the sound was too low, so they had to bring him back in to raise the volume. I wish the volume would have been a little higher because some parts of the dialogue I was not able to hear, but it was still pretty clear. Somebody clearing their throats or coughing, it kind of cut the sound entirely. So that was probably the only downside of it. Other than that, it was a great experience. I'm hoping to go back now that I know that they tend to grab films right off film festivals. And they do also hold a film festival of their own with their own awards, which would be super amazing to either be there during that time, because I'm pretty sure the film selection would be amazing. And they were also holding some classic Roman films. They actually had a Fellini coming up, but that was the week after I was already gone. Now, I can't really compare this movie theater to the one in Madrid, which is Cine Ideal, Cine Yelmo. They're a pretty large chain of cinema, but the one that I usually go to is Cine Ideal, and I love that movie theater mostly because it was probably the first movie theater that I went to in Madrid or Spain in general. It's a great movie theater, but It does get very crowded with young people. There's a few schools around the area, and it gets super crowded with young people. And when I tell you the lines for the concession stands in this movie theater are long, I am not fucking kidding. Like if your movie is at 6 p.m. or 1800, you better be there by 1400 because the lines are impossible. Great popcorn. You can even get beers and wine and whatever you want, but the lines are ridiculous. The only problem that I have with that movie theater is sometimes when you're trying to buy movies at the kiosk, it gives you a lot of problems if you're trying to pay with international cards. So I just buy my movie tickets online anyway. This time I was able to catch back rooms, which it was a pretty good audience, to be honest. I took my friend to see it, not the friend that I lost in Rome, but my other friend who joined me in Madrid. I took him to see Backrooms, and the crowd reaction was pretty good. They were actually quiet this time because I've been to, I believe it was during Scream 5 or 6 that I saw there, and the audience was a little bit more chatty. And this one, the crowd was a little bit more quieter, a little bit more responsive. So it was a good experience. The sound was pretty good. What I realized is that when I was watching Backrooms, that was the same screening room in which I saw a Scream, which was pretty amazing because I don't remember the sound being that good. But for Backrooms, I did notice the sound being pretty good. The other one that I did catch in that movie theater was Scary Movie 6. Now the crowd was laughing, they were enjoying the film. Obviously, I'm American, I know some of the jokes before they even hit, so I'm there laughing like an idiot by myself, and then when the joke finally hits, then people start laughing. So I kind of felt like I was the disrespectful one, but it was also a pretty good experience. The only thing is, you have people coming in 40 minutes into the movie to an hour and 30-minute movie, but I was sitting right next to the entrance door, so that was probably the biggest problem that I had, and every time somebody came in, I would just get a full light from outside, and it's one of those automatic doors that when you open them, they take forever to close. So that was the only downside to sitting all the way in the back where I was, but it was still a pretty good experience. Now, if I had to compare which one is a better movie theater, it is very hard. I was actually thinking about that and I was like, I don't know how to evaluate this because I mentioned the theater in Rome, Fnac, that one is more independent. Cine Ideal is a chain of movie theaters. And some of the movie theaters that are part of that movie theater chain, some of them are pretty large. There's actually one called Cine Proyecciones in Madrid that is part of that movie theater chain. And that one has a few screening rooms that are pretty large. And apparently they have great sound in that one. I haven't visited those yet. But if I had to compare which one was better, I love a small independent movie theater. So I would have to say that Furness or Furnessy, it probably takes the win just because it's more of a community theater. It does bring in more titles that are direct from festivals. The one in Madrid, Bitter Christmas, had not come out yet. And even though it's a Spanish film that was recorded in Madrid, it was still not out. Obviously, Cine Ideal is a little bit more commercial, but I still checked around the area to see if there was any other movie theater that was showing Bitter Christmas. Before I saw it in Rome, I said, let me make sure they're not showing it in Madrid because I might as well just go see it there and take the chance and see something that also was part of the Cannes Film Festival that was also showing. The presentation in both movie theaters, I would say they're okay. They're not, like I said, you're not going here for the quality necessarily of the film. They're more of a, here's a movie theater, here's the film. That is probably not their fault, to be honest. But the presentation was still pretty good. I think the problem that I have with Cine Ideal, and I noticed it again with Scary Movie 6, is that it's the projector is pretty dark. The lighting in the screen is pretty dark, and I couldn't really appreciate some of the darks in the film. Backrooms is so much light. It's a film that is so well lit that I didn't have a problem with it. But in Scary Movie, I can see that the projector, the lighting is perhaps not the strongest. In For Nessie, the film itself is very bright. A lot of Pedro Almodovar films are, and the colors were amazing. Like, one thing about a Pedro Almodovar film is always the colors. And in this projector, at least in this movie theater that I was watching the film, the colors were very, very bright and very, very vivid. So comparing that, I think that when it comes to Cine Ideal, it has to be the quality of the film or perhaps just the screening room, because some scenes in Scary Movie were not that bad. The overall experience in both of them was pretty good. I feel like the movie theater is pretty clean, I would say. If you're visiting Madrid, which I hope you do if you haven't, this is a pretty good movie theater to go to. Somebody asked me on Reddit if they still had the sex museum. They don't, so I do apologize for that. I believe that closed. There is a lot of sex shops, so if I can give you a recommendation of some, but there is no sex museum inside Cine Ideal anymore. One thought that I had while I was thinking about creating this episode was, as someone who loves movies, which city would I go back to first is pretty hard to decide, because I do love the feeling of collecting or hunting for physical media in Madrid. But if you're going for a more cinematic experience, if you want to feel like you're inside a film, I definitely recommend Rome, just because in Rome, not only do you have these classic films like Roman Holiday and The Da Vinci Code, or the more recent one, Conclave, but you also have some spaces that kind of unlock a memory of a film or make you feel like you're part of a film. So the whole atmosphere in Rome, it feels like that. It does feel like you're inside of a film. There's a bookstore in Rome that is called Altro Quando, Libreria e Pub. What I love about that bookstore is that the upstairs is all books, but when you go down the stairs, the lower floor is a bar. It's not, wow, it's a bar covered from wall to wall with all types of film, not just Italian films. And it is such a great place to just sit down and think or talk about Italian cinema. And they have a small stage, which I'm assuming they either do karaoke or live music. They also have a projector, so I'm assuming they also do screening of films. But they have a huge poster of Blow Up, and that is an amazing film. I actually wish I had that poster in my movie room because I just love that poster. But it's a great place to just like sit down, grab a drink, and talk about Italian cinema in a city that is so romanticized. However, in Madrid, if you're more of a collector, then obviously you do have more options of stores. So that is something that you have to wait if you're going for more cinematic experience or if you're going to just buy films throughout the trip, because I mean, you could just go to Hollywood, the store in Rome, and spend your money there, which is which is great. But overall, the decision of which city I would go back to as a movie lover, it would have to be based on what kind of experience I want to have. If I want to have I just want to buy movies throughout my entire trip, then I definitely choose Madrid. If it's I wanna feel like I'm inside of a movie my entire trip, then in that case, I choose Rome. Let's talk about the stores, because we talk about buying physical media, And I did mention some of the stores that I visited. Now, the most important thing is which stores are easier to find. Like I mentioned, Hollywood in Rome is probably the easiest. It is hidden. So just make sure you're using Google Maps trying to get to it. It is hidden between two streets, two lovely streets near Campo de Fiori. I usually go crazier there than I do in Profondo Rosso, which is the horror store that is co-owned by Argento. So it really comes down into what kind of films are you more into collecting and what kind of experience you want to have as a collector. I also posted some pictures of the museum that is hidden under Profondo Rosso. I believe it's about €5 to enter. As a horror fan, you have to try it out. It's not something wow, but it's more of the experience of visiting the museum. It just has like some weird mannequin, looking figures that are scenes of some Argento films. The experience itself is worth the €5. But Profondo Rosso does feel in one side of the store does feel very Party City, as in they have a lot of masks for Halloween. They have a lot of books on horror. They do have a lot of Italian titles, but you can also find one or two English titles. I was able to buy at the Profondo Rosso store the Giallo Argento, all about Dario Argento and his movies book, which I started on my way to Madrid on the plane, and it was a pretty interesting book. I don't know too much about Argento. €21. I highly recommend it. I'm going to be posting some pictures of these on social media. So if you're interested, just let me know and I'll let you know the pricing or where to find it. So the experiences as collectors is going to be much different. If you are a horror collector, you're not going to find a lot of horror at Hollywood, but you will find some more thriller esque at Profondo Rosso. The only problem that I have with Profondo Rosso, the prices are a little bit steep. They were trying to sell me a copy, and I can't remember the title right now, but it's a Severin film, and they wanted almost €90 for it because it was out of print. But it was out of print for them because we still had the title here. I remember the title not being out of print here. I just can't remember the name of the title, but I was not gonna pay $90 for that. I didn't wanna tell them either that we have that film in the US still available. I just thought it'd be disrespectful, but I did like having conversations with them. But what I do love about both stores is the conversations that you have with these people. Like, they're very knowledgeable, either at your Profondo Rosso having a horror conversation, or if you're at Hollywood just having a general film conversation, they're equally knowledgeable on film. I do love having more conversations with the lady in Hollywood. She's very, very knowledgeable in a lot of things, Italian cinema, and she recommended a lot of films to me. Now, something I noticed visiting these stores a few times now is that they're not that busy. I did visit a few bookstores. They tend to have a little bit more of a crowd. But when it came to the movie stores themselves, I think at Hollywood, I usually see one or two people there. I do see a lot of Americans there, but at Profondo Rosso, I don't think I've seen anyone besides myself when I go. So I don't know if it's just the demand itself or just because everyone else is working and we're the only tourists there at the time, but they're not busy. And when you compare that to Madrid, in Madrid, some of these stores are packed, at least in Fnac, which is the Best Buy looking department store. That one tends to get packed. Their physical media, not just films, but CDs, it does tend to get packed. And I haven't been able to really have conversations at Fnac about films. It just feels like a big department store, and I don't know how knowledgeable the employees will be. At least one of the gentlemen that I usually ask questions to, he does know a lot about films, but he's not always there. And when it comes to the crowd, everyone is to each their own. They're not too conversational, so I don't wanna bother anybody. At least in Rome, it did feel that if there was someone else in the store, even if it was just an American person, you're more inclined to talk to them, which I did. That's how I found out they were tourists. They're there because of their love for cinema, and they're also looking for Italian cinema, which is always good to have conversations, in a movie store because you might discover something that you did not know. That is something I noticed that in Madrid, the physical media stores tend to be more packed or at least have a crowd than they did in Rome. It's the same thing with London. In London, you go to a FOP or Asian V, and these stores are packed or at least have a few people browsing, purchasing. It's just a weird feeling, to see a movie store empty. What again surprises me is that a lot of the focus is on DVD. As I said before, a lot of European collectors still have a strong passion or they're more inclined to buy DVD and Blu-ray than 4K. A lot of these DVDs, they have great sound. I purchased DVDs that are brand new in Rome and Madrid, and the sound is amazing, like 5.1 DTS, and then some of them are restored from a 4K scan. Last year, I bought an Italian film that it was transferred on DVD from a 4K restoration. I don't think Criterion does that. I don't know. I haven't looked. I don't own a lot of Criterion DVDs, and the ones that I do are 2K scan. But when I saw that, it didn't make sense to me. I thought it was a Blu-ray at one point, but then I looked at it again and it said DVD, and I was like, how is it a DVD has a 4K scan transfer? I don't know the memory on that disc, but it must be a great it mu like, honestly, I don't know how they did it, but they did it, and that's why a lot of people in Europe still collect DVDs, and DVD is still king in Europe. Over here, we're the ones that are a little bit more snobby, that everything has to be on 4K, and we have to be upgrading every 5 minutes, and I include myself. I'm not attacking anybody personally. I include myself in that. Thankfully, I have a region-free player, the LG. I'll link it below because I forgot the entire name, but it was about $99 on Amazon. The only problem with it, the fan is very loud, so if the film is very low, you're gonna hear the fan over the movie, and that kinda does suck. But it's still a good Blu-ray player. I didn't see any used section, so I don't know about any secondhand at least in Rome, because you have CEX, Sex over there in Madrid and London, and those are the only secondhands that I know, in those 2 countries. So, I don't know much of any secondhand over there in Rome. So, if you're trying to see if you can hit up some, thrift shops or something, I don't know. But when it comes to boutique labels, like I mentioned before, I didn't see any in Rome. In Madrid, I haven't seen any either. I just don't think these 2 countries focus too much on boutique labels. I do know people who collect Criterion in Madrid, but they usually buy it because they travel to London a lot. So I don't know where they get it in Madrid or if they're even available, if they have any Severin or Arrow or anything like that in these 2 countries. Also, another thing that I noticed that Madrid is bigger in than Rome, Madrid has a lot of steelbooks. I bought a Caligula last year, at the beginning of this year, actually, and it was a nice steelbook. It's a DVD, but it's a very nice steelbook, though. Usually, they're more customized. You're not gonna find it in UK. You're not gonna find it here in the States. They have a beautiful edition in Fnac. of Monster Squad. I've been wanting to buy it, but I don't have a reason to, and that one's on 4K. You do find a lot of 4K in Fnac. Great 4Ks. I bought Master and Commander there. I was gonna order it through Amazon UK, but when I went and I saw it, I had to buy it. I don't really love the film. I don't remember loving the film, but to have it on 4K with that Atmos sound, I still have to check it out just in case. But I do find a lot of 4Ks in Madrid that when they have that sale, they usually run a sale between January and February that you get, I think it was about 10 or it's a good percentage compared to not getting anything. So you usually have a sale, and then on top of that, there's a percentage taken out as well. And I remember I got like 10 titles at one point, and I thought I was over 150 euros. And when we went to pay, it came down to like 90 euros. And it's just because the titles, most of them were either 30% off and then a 10% off because they had an extra percentage off on movies. It was almost a 40%. And I don't know when these sales happen. This last time that I was there, there wasn't much of one. But when they do happen, it's probably the best time to take advantage and buy everything you want because it don't you can't beat that price, especially when it comes to a steelbook at almost 40% off. You can't beat that. I know a lot of my listeners and a lot of my followers and a lot of the people that I follow, I know they're horror fans. I know we're part of a big horror community, and if you're a horror fan, Madrid still has a huge, a huge horror section. All these videos, you can see them on my Instagram. So if you don't follow me on my Instagram, on my personal one, you can go ahead, check it out. Carlos Ruben 2.0. That's KRLOZ RUBEN 2.0. All these videos from these stores or pictures from these stores are all there. So you're going to be able to check them out. But I did post a video of the horror section in Madrid, and it has so many good titles, especially of Spanish horror. So if you love Spanish horror, you're gonna love Fnac. Like their selection is ridiculous. And they have some very good, especially if you're double dipping for different versions. That's where I get my Scream editions. There and FOP, I usually get my Scream editions, my international covers. They usually have a great selection on films. And right behind it, they have a great selection of Spanish films. So as a collector, obviously Madrid always takes the win for me between these two cities because as a collector is FOP for me hands down. Like the horror section in FOP, I could sleep there. It's literally like a little nook. So it's a little nook, the section, and I love it because you could just put a bed there and just sleep. Like, you give me a CRTV, and I would just lay there all day. So I that's what I love about that basement in FOP. It does feel like it belongs to you. It feels like you're walking down to your own basement, and that's probably physical media collector heaven. It's probably one of the biggest selections I've ever seen of physical media. Again, comparing these two cities, Rome versus Madrid, as collectors, the prices, they're kind of the same, to be honest. The better selection, Madrid. Better used movies, I would say probably Madrid because Siggy, I think, has a few used movies, even though most of their movies are new, although they kind of look bootleg, but they're not. I said Madrid would take the win for used media, but when it comes to horror, unless you want to visit Profondo Rosso, I would say Madrid also takes the win. And overall collector experience, definitely Madrid. Now I'm going to take you through some of the titles that I grabbed during this trip. I would say it's a decent stack compared to other times when I come back like full carry-on. This one's more of a decent stack. I control myself a little bit more this time around. I'm gonna go ahead and start with Rome since that's where our trip started. And when I visited the Profondo Rosso store, I was able to grab two DVDs. I believe they are, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, two DVDs of a film festival that is called Drag Me to Fest. Tells from the Italian Horror Film Festival. I bought volume one and volume two because they gave me volume two, but I told them I don't know what's gonna happen if I didn't see volume one. So I was able to grab those two. It's two documentaries, and they basically just talk about all the films that were shown in this Italian horror festival. And I don't know, I don't know much about Italian horror, local Italian horror. So I just know the big ones, the classic ones. So it'd be kind of interesting to dive into this. I will let you guys know my thoughts on these later on. But it's funny because they're limited to 500 copies. So I'm assuming, they're very indie. Is region free as well. So that's a good thing. They're about 92 minutes each. They have subtitles, so that's great. But I think you can, yep, the audio is also English, Spanish, and Italian. I like to watch things in the original language, but given that this is more of a documentary, although I think some of the people here speak English as well, because that's what he mentioned, I definitely wanna check these out. They were about 13 euros each, so that's a good price for a limited edition, DVD, especially when it comes from an independent film festival. And also, like I said at the beginning, I did buy Hairspray, the musical, just to replace my copy that has the disc rot. This one has a great 5.1 Dolby Digital sound. It has a DTS in English, so I am more than satisfied with this. This one I think was about 14 euros. Because again, I paid and walked away after that because they had me waiting for a while just because he wasn't sure what the pricing was. So he just wrote a price down and I told him it could be 20 euros. I'm still buying it. I need it. And it's a great addition. Again, all the this video is about 6 minute video I posted on YouTube. I'm gonna link it here below so you guys can go ahead and check it out. But it's a beautiful addition. It's like a little, digipack, a DVD digipack, and it's gorgeous. Like, when he said I remember being surprised at the price because I honestly thought it was gonna be above 20 euros. So when he wrote down some squiggle line, and then I was like, "Okay, so it's below 20 euros. That's great." Also, I bought 2 titles that I don't know why I got them. I got these at Hollywood. I don't know why I got them because one is coming out on 4K from Criterion. The other one is coming on 4K. And that's The Secret Agent, the Brazilian film, The Secret Agent. I paid about 15 euros for this. It's a DVD. It has Dolby Digital sound, but it's only in Italian Dolby Digital and Originale Dolby Digitale 5.1. So sorry, the original, I just read it in Italian because I was trying to be smart, but the original is Portuguese, obviously. Duh. A lot of these format videos are very basic, standard. The transfers are usually pretty good. I mean, the fact that it's also, again, a DVD with 5.1 is more than enough for me. I do have a great sound setup. So 5.1, I love it. Sometimes don't hate me for this. It sounds better than Dolby Atmos. I'm sorry. I have to say it. The Day of the Dead, and I know it has nothing to do with this, with that DTS master, it sounds much better than the Dolby Atmos. And sometimes, again, Dolby Atmos, I love it, but a 5.1 or a Master Audio DTS, I could live with that. So the other title that is coming out on 4K, but I just love this cover that I saw at Hollywood is No Other Choice. Sadly, is in Italian and Korean. So either I'm gonna have to put the subtitles and pause it to read, but it's Dolby Digital 5.1, but it is a beautiful cover, and I know I'm gonna be double dipping on this because obviously I am getting the 4K special edition whenever it comes out. Now, where I went a little crazy was buying some Almodovar films that I don't have. These are impossible to find on Amazon. Since they're Spanish, I don't have a problem, but obviously the titles are in Italian. So I have to make sure I don't have them. One of them I know I don't have because it's One Crazy Nun, and it's called El Indiscreto Fascino del Peccato, which is, I forgot the translation in Spanish, but I know I don't have that one. I checked it out, and in Italian is 2.0, Dolby Digital, but in Spanish, the Originale is 5.1, which again, I am super satisfied with that. The other one is Pepe Luci Bom, El Altre Ragazza del Mucchio or Mucchio. I know I don't have this one because some of the words I know what they mean and I don't have that film. These were about 13 euros each. And this one is even older. Actually, no, they're about the same age. But this one sadly is a 2.0. So yeah, that kind of sucks. And the other one, the last Pedro Almodovar that I bought there is Gli Amanti Passeggeri. This one I know I don't have it because it's the movie that takes place during a flight, so I know I don't have it. This one is just basic Dolby Digital. It doesn't even say if it's a 2.0 or a 5 point. Actually, no, it does say it's a 5.1 Dolby Digital. My apologies. But yeah, this one is sadly, all of these Almodovar ones are region 2. They tend to be very difficult to unlock. So I'm looking forward to checking out the Secret Agent and No Other Choice to see if they unlock easily on my Panasonic. Now, the last movie that I bought at Hollywood is Charlie Chaplin's A Woman of Paris. When I saw this, I knew I didn't need the Criterion edition because this has 3 small digipacks inside, and one of them is the film, another one is a book, and then the other one is just, I'm gonna read it in Italian, Rarita e approfondimenti. The fuck that means. I'm assuming it's just kind of like the supplementals because I believe it's also a disc. So it should be the supplementals for the film. There was 4 other titles. They had The Kid. They had, oh, I forgot the other 2 titles, but they had 4 titles, including this one, with this same edition. It is a nuevo restauro. At least the label is called Cineteca Bologna. So I'm guessing they're from the boutique that makes them is from Bologna, which now that I have that one, next trip to Rome, y'all know I'm coming back with the kid and the other 2 Charlie Chaplin films. Now, let's move on to Madrid because in Madrid, I found this amazing edition at Fnac for 20 euros of The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I know Criterion has the 4K. I don't give a fuck about the 4K now that I saw this edition. This edition comes with the DVD and it comes with a booklet. It's a pretty thick booklet and it is gorgeous. Now, they have a lot of classics. I never seen these before. So now that I saw these there as well, I am going back for many, many more. They have the 4 seasons of Eric Romer. They're all separate, not together, like the Criterion pack. So they're all separated, but they're all separated with the Blu-ray and a thick booklet. These are freaking amazing. The inside is pink. I wish they would have done this for Legally Blonde. It would have been a fucking killer. But this is such a beautiful edition of Las Señoritas de Rochefort. So Jacques Demy, I'm buying all his films from now on in this edition. I haven't bought that from Criterion, and thank God I have not because they're beautiful. And I think the sound, well, the sticker is covering the sound, but it's a DTS. I don't want to open them because they're so freaking gorgeous, but it's a DTS. Oh, 5.1. Well, I just broke the plastic. So it is a master audio. God, I love master audio. The DTS master audio, I'm sorry, but the master audio kicks ass. So sorry, Dolby. And then I also found a film, and most of you, if you're a horror lover, and I saw this film a few years ago in Barcelona. I'm trying to open it because the sticker is stuck in there and I can't see what kind of sound it has, but also has a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. So double win. And this film is Good Night Mother, not the one with what's her face, but the original one, Good Night Mommy. So Buenas noches, mama. This film, I've been trying to find it, and also from Contracorriente. Oh my god, I feel like Contracorriente. I have films from them, but I feel like this time I've noticed they run Fnac, they run Spain. But that film, Goodnight Mommy, I've been trying to find that film for years, ever since I saw it in Fnac in Barcelona, and I finally fucking found it. I'm crazy to watch this film. I haven't seen it yet because I wanted to buy it because everybody that knows that I love this type of horror has recommended it. I also was able to grab The Descent. This is just a Blu-ray, but it's from a 4K restoration, and it has a HD master audio as well. Again, we are winning here, a 5.1. It has the basic extras, but the quality, to be honest, I already saw this one, this version that I bought. I already saw it. I did love the sound. The sound was great, but the picture quality, I did not love the picture quality. And even though it's a restored master, so master restaurado, nuevo transfer digital en alta definición. Even though it's high definition, there's a scene where those white crawlers are in the roof of the cave. You can see the hologram. Same thing with the bats at the beginning. I didn't love that. The other one that I found, and this I had to snatch. Sadly, I didn't love the movie too much, is Eric Romer, Paulina en la playa, which is Paulina at the beach, whatever language you want. But this one is from Comedies and Proverbs. I didn't love this one too much. To be honest, it was a little creepy. Talking about Lolita coming soon on 4K, this one was a little creepy. This one is just like the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, that it has the beautiful booklet inside with the Blu-ray, and also from Contracorriente, and this one is also a DTS HD Master Audio, but this one is 2.0 mono. I had to say, it sounded great. It sounded great. I love how beautiful Eric Romer films are. Sadly, not all of them. I hate Winter. I cannot get through that movie. I don't hate it. I just can't get through it. That's probably the only season I don't like from the Four Seasons collection. And Pauline à la plage, I don't really love it. I don't get the story. I wasn't too invested in the story, but as every Eric Romer film, it looked gorgeous. As creepy as it is, it looked gorgeous. Now, I bought two books. I know y'all are not interested in books, but I did buy Panza de Burro, which is Fat Pig. I've been wanting to read it for a while. Then I bought an edition of Christine from Stephen King. I buy any Stephen King that I find, I always snatch it. Now, in SCX, and by the way, I think Pauline à la plage was also about 20 euros. The one that I feel that I spent a little bit more money on was a used edition of also Eric Romer, El Rayo Verde, Le Rayo Verde, which was about 18 euros, but this is a used edition. I found this at CEX. It has also DTS HD Master Audio 2.0 mono, but I'm pretty sure it's going to sound great. The picture quality, I'm pretty sure it's gonna look great, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm crazy to see this one. This one is from also Comedies and Proverbs, which means I believe there's 4 in that series. If I'm not mistaken, it's either 4 or 5, which means I'm halfway there with these 2. So I am gonna try to find the other ones in this same edition because again, they're both from Contracorriente. This is like the Arrow video of Spain. It actually does have like little arrows on their logo. So it is a beautiful edition. Same Blu-ray with that booklet inside, that thick booklet, and the quality of the booklet is just top notch. I'm sorry, Criterion. I found another label. I took a mental picture of the films that I want to get next time I go. And if you love Bergman, you're gonna love the editions that they have for the Seventh Seal and most of his films. Not all of them, but the majority that are within the Criterion box set. they have them there as well. So if you love those kind of films, this is why I said it really depends on what you're going to buy, what city you want to visit. Because if you're just a movie collector like myself, that you just love finding directors or films that you love in this kind of quality, Madrid and London are obviously top notch. The one that I bought for $3, and this is actually funny, I bought it at CEX as well. These last 4 titles, I bought them at CEX. I spent about 48 euros there. Is El Zorro, with Alain Delon. I love Alain Delon. Like, he's probably one of the sexiest men from that era, and I love Zorro, so when I saw this, I'm like, "I need to buy it." Like, it's probably gonna be bad, I don't know. It doesn't even say the quality of the sound. It just says audio monaural, so I'm guessing it's just mono, which is fine. Like, some films from that time do tend to sound pretty good. The other one that I bought was is a Spanish film, Perdiendo el Norte, Losing the North. It's just kinda like a family comedy. €3, can't go wrong. They had a lot, but I had backrooms right after, so I just spent, like, maybe 10 minutes, I just grabbed what I saw and ran out, because at CEX, they have to go to the back and go through a whole bunch of catalogs to find the disc, and that takes forever. But this one was also €3. Sound quality, this is so hard to read, but it's a 5.1, Castellano, Dolby Digital, and they also have also, it comes with a Blu-ray and a DVD. But the DVD is 5.1 Dolby Digital. The DTS HD Master Audio is on also 5.1 on the Blu-ray. So that is gonna sound amazing. And I love Spanish comedies. Like, that's why I go to Madrid a lot. I love Spanish comedies. I don't like Latin American comedies too much, but I do love Spanish comedies. Spanish horror, I'm kind of mixed. I'm not a big fan. Now, the one that I spend, I think, a little bit too much on, and this is the final title that I purchased, is Angels and Demons. 20 euros. Dude, I could have bought the 4K for that, but this is one of those booklets kind of type covers. So it's like a book. I saw it and I was like, "This is nicer than that 4K that we have over here." So it's like the when you open it up, it's the 2 discs on both sides, and then in the middle, you have the little booklet. Again, this video, I'm gonna link it below so you guys can check it out. That was basically my entire haul, but that's because I didn't have much to carry on, so I had to kinda hold myself back from buying too much, sadly. But next time I go to Madrid, I am definitely gonna be hitting up the stacks for those special edition with the little booklet, so I'm definitely gonna keep that in mind. Next time I go to Madrid, hopefully they have that sale because if they had the sale on physical media, on movies, that's to break bank, honestly. Now, obviously, like, with these countries, when it comes to Rome, other than Madrid, obviously, the language barrier in Rome is a little, harder to communicate. Not always, because a lot of them speak Spanish or English, but sometimes I like to get to know people a little bit better, and, it's kinda hard to have a full conversation when they might not understand a lot of the words that I say. I expected at least some physical media to be cheaper, mostly because when I go to FOP, I do find a lot of cheap physical media, but it was still a good price for some of the stuff that I found. I don't have any complaints on that. Some movies that I wanted to find, I couldn't find them, at least like in Madrid. There's still some titles from last year, films that came out. I haven't been able to find them yet. So maybe next time when I go, I'm gonna focus more on their Spanish section. I try to take sections little by little, but they moved everything around, and I'm trying to get familiar, at least at Fnac, I'm trying to get familiar again with the shells because it's too much. So I just avoid the whole American section of Marvel and shit. And I try to take the horrors and the indies and the Spanish. I try to take those slowly, but most of the time when I go, it's either they're closing or I'm running out of time. I just love discovering stores And especially when we're so used to buying so much shit online, finally being loose in a store, it's just a different feeling. Like I said, in Madrid, you have Siggy, you have Fnac, you have some other bookstores that have films within it. So I already know some of those. But having Fnac reopen because they were closed for a while, almost a year, having it reopen again, I knew I was gonna be broke from now on every time I went to Madrid. So that means less croquetas, less tinta verano, more movies, which I'm kinda okay with, but not really. If you know how much I love my croquetas and my tinta verano, you know how hard that decision is. But at least when you meet people there, you know what that feeling, that universal feeling of collecting physical media, of buying movies and other people around you doing the same from another country. Not just some random guy here in Brooklyn buying used movies next to me. No, this is a whole different country, a whole different culture. And just seeing how physical media, we're all kind of the same when it comes to it. Is that it doesn't matter what language you're speaking. At the end of the day, we're all here looking for physical media the same way we do in the US, discovering new films. I might not know a Spanish film that somebody does, and maybe they'll recommend that Spanish film to me, which is something that I love. That is something that I really, really love. I usually do that with horror books. I usually go to the bookstores in Madrid and I tell them like, "Hey, what's the local horror books that you recommend?" And that's how I discover a lot of the horror that I read from Spain through the locals, and I've gotten great recommendations. Summarizing everything down quickly because I know this episode has been a little long. I'm going to give you some of my final rankings when it comes to physical media and being a movie lover abroad. And I would have to say that for better theaters, the experience of being in an indie cinema and being a movie lover, I have to give it to Rome for Nasi specifically because that's the only one that I've been to. I love when local cinema focuses so much on the community, and that is something that I love. Better movie stores, obviously Madrid, hands down, unless you're a horror lover and then you want to go through the experience of Profondo Rosso, which I think is a great store, then sure, go to Rome. But if you're a physical media collector and you just want to, you know, stack your bags, then definitely go to Madrid. Better prices if you go to Fnac during their sales, that's a better win. So I would say Madrid for that. But when it comes to prices, they're both equally the same. The best collector experience, I have to say, Madrid again, because if we're focusing on just physical media, I did find some great editions of films, classic films that I haven't bought from Criterion. And thank God I didn't because Criterion is not what the shit all the time. So I'm glad I kind of found these from Contra Corriente. Better surprise, yeah, those Eric Romer, the Umbrellas of Schertzberg, all those films that I found that are classics that have been on my Criterion list for a while. Those were the biggest surprises of me finding them. I did not expect to find a whole section of Bergman and all these films that are classic French cinema in those beautiful editions. Which one would I go again first as a movie lover? Definitely Rome. As a movie lover, I would definitely go to Rome. As a movie collector, I would definitely choose Madrid. That's not London being in the equation, because that would be a total different conversation. Madrid and London, that is two different conversations than Madrid and Rome. And one of the things I love most about collecting is that every movie has a story, and sometimes the story isn't just what's on the disc, it's where you found it, the city you were in, the theater you visited beforehand, or the memory attached to bringing it home. This trip reminded me that collecting isn't just about owning movies, it's about connecting those movies to moments you'll remember long after those credits roll. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Physical Cut Pod or Carlos Ruben 2.0. That is KRLOZ RUBEN 2.0. This has been the Physical Cut. where films live beyond the stream, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for listening.